this business is short term. And the reality is, in theory, the more you shorten the stay, the higher revenue per day you're getting.
So with all the things that you do, I know someone, they can buy a property, they can do it themselves, they can figure it out. Can someone buy a property and tell you, hey, Andy, or your company, can you just handle the rest, or tell me what I need to do next? How in-depth help is it when you meet someone, when they're starting off fresh? How much can you help them?
Sure. Well, we have specialized in really helping investors. So our typical client really does not may not even care about hospitality, doesn't really want to get involved. They see the opportunity.
Okay.
They like the way we work. We have become the leading company in South Florida, and they like the reviews that we have and the response from the guests. But they want us basically to do absolutely everything. And that's what we do. We do everything from we connect them with people like you to help them find the property. And as you know, you and I have talked in the past, you will always circle back to me and say, hey, is this a good area to do Airbnb? I'll say yes. So you help them buy the property, and then once they buy the property, we can help them stage. It's not necessary. I get a little nervous when the owner is going to stage because I never know if they know what's needed. And it's an uncomfortable position to be in, to have to tell an owner, look, no, that's not going to work. So we're happy when we stage it.
So when you start fresh?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, we really don't like to get a home that somebody lived in and then they want to convert it to Airbnb. Rarely does it really work. Because it either has too much or it doesn't have the right things.
Right.
And we had somebody in Naples that bought a house, and they were all excited and proud that they had bought this house furnished.
Right.
And
didn't work.
Didn't work. I knew it wasn't going to work, but I didn't want to deliver the bad news, so I connected them to a decorator, professional decorator, and she said, look, they didn't do you a favor. You need to get everything out of the house. Right. I mean, everything. And they did. But you know what? They're very happy they did. They're very happy they did. So we will help them stage the house. And here's our promise. Within 48 hours of us listing the home, we'll get a booking. Wow. We will get a booking. We really, I think one of the things that we do, we pay very close attention to all the details. We call it the onboarding process. And we have an in-house copywriter. We have an in-house designer, because we're paying attention to every word that we put on that listing. The pictures, we use one of the best local photographers, and we're so focused on pictures that if we get a house in Tampa, we take them to Tampa, we take them to Orlando, we take them to Naples, because we know that what people are buying are pictures. Remember, unlike your business, I hardly ever let somebody come view a house. Right. It's too much work. I have a saying that says, lookers are not bookers. and it's true. I mean, these people that feel they have to come see a house, they probably are very complicated. Right. And they'll find 1,000 things wrong with them. Right. It really ends up. But the other problem is, you want to see it in 2 days, right? Well, we arrange the appointment today, but tomorrow the house gets booked and it's no longer available in 2 days. So now what do you do? So we sell pictures. And in order to sell pictures, we really want the best photography our money can buy. And we do all of that process. We handle the technology. The technology involves, very important, the smart lock. And it's not just a smart lock, but there's also a hub. And that hub is intelligent. It talks to our software. Somebody reserves a house, a code is generated. The code doesn't go out until 72 hours before booking. But the code doesn't become active until check-in time. Nice. So they can't arrive 2 hours later because it's not going to open. Right. Checkout comes, they leave, they can't go back into the house. These are important things because it makes the business efficient, but more importantly, it gives the owner safety and it gives the guest safety. The guest knows that there's no dozens of keys floating around and that somebody might potentially have access to that property.
So those are great points. So if someone is going to rent their place in, say, Miami, expectations as far as occupancy. What would you say is typical occupancy for an average price home, not something ridiculously expensive?
The typical in the industry, in the Miami area, I see about 65, 70. In our platform, we're rarely below 85%. So we do, what we do in terms of technology and people, I think is what affects our occupancy numbers. And we're really fanatical about bringing in good people and keeping them. So whatever we have to do to keep people, and that's tough in hospitality where you have normally such a high rotation. But we have this concept that we call total hospitality. Everybody knows how great you get treated at the Ritz. But I don't know how many people know that the employees don't get treated quite the same way.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
And we feel very strongly about treating, whether it's our people that are in Manila or whether our people that are in Italy, treating everybody really, really, really well, making them feel very special, giving them lots of perks, freedom, flexibility, vacations. And it has worked. It has worked because they stay. And the value of somebody staying an additional 2 years, think about the experiences, think about how many stories, how many guests they've been able to work with, and how capable they are. So we really work hard to get that high occupancy on people, and then technology. Like I told you, the smart locks, but part of the technology, a huge part is also pricing. How do you price the home? It's software, dynamic pricing, and that's huge because the person doesn't know what they're doing, leaves a lot of money on the table when demand goes up. And then inevitably, come May right now, demand declines, there's still a lot of supply, and the amateur might not lower prices enough, so their occupancy plummets, let's say in the month of May. And ours doesn't because we're very proactive in that.
Yeah, I know like a friend of mine that's a client of yours, he was telling me about your dynamic pricing, how obviously if you have something rented, you make money. If you don't, you make none.
Exactly.
And how you use the data points and adjust the pricing where you're getting a return instead of nothing, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And I guess that's why you have 85% compared to 65 or 70%.
Yeah, I tell clients it's very simple. I tell them, look, if I get 70%, it's because I'm not doing my pricing right. So occupancy is frequently a function of pricing. And we pay a lot of attention to it, and we dedicate a lot of resources to it.
So I know in Miami we have different areas that are hot depending on the time of the year, and some aren't. I know Miami Beach is probably going to be hotter at different times than maybe Kendall would be. But typically, what are the busiest months and the slowest months in short-term rentals? Miami
is really one of the best places in the country, by far. It just combines everything. I mean, Miami, by the way, I mean the whole Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach area, South Florida. Because even within the state of Florida, it's so much better. People get all excited about Orlando. Orlando's not a great place to invest. I mean, I don't mind managing because I get fees regardless.
Right.
It's not a great place to invest because, they like to brag in Orlando about 85 million visitors. Well, tongue in cheek, what I say to them is, you have 85 million homes. I mean, it's like, these things are like, they build a new community, you blink and there's a new one.
Right, so much competition.
There is so much competition, it's crazy. So we get twice the rate for the same home, or more, 3 or 4 times. I mean, if I had the townhome that I have in Orlando, if I had that here.
So what would that rent for in Orlando?
In Orlando, it might rent for $200 a night. Here, it might rent for $800 a night. 3 to 4 times more.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
3 to 4 times more.
And it's not going to be 4 times more in price, that's for sure.
No. So good areas, and great places to rent. So I was saying that Miami, South Florida, the beauty about South Florida is you have a great combination. You have urban. Urban produces demand just by itself. You know it in your business. People buy and sell homes. They get stuck in the middle. They sold. They don't have a home to buy. It's not ready yet. That's number one. Number two, South Florida is a tough climate, and not everybody keeps up with maintenance. And then issues happen. Floods, mold, they need another home. Often insurance pays. So that's demand. There's a lot of demand from that. And there's also tourism from the north and from the south. And just the area, tourism-wise, is becoming hotter and hotter. Then you have corporate. Corporate used to be not the strongest point in the Miami area because we all know we didn't have the highest paying jobs. We didn't have tech, and we didn't have interesting finance. We had the boring private banks, but that's small, and it's small potatoes in terms of income compared to investment banks and the asset managers. Well, that's changing. We never had technology. That's changing. So we have the big hedge funds, but not just the hedge funds. We got the BlackRocks moving in. We have
crypto, everything.
Crypto, and we even have tech. So that's a tectonic shift in the demand for short-term rentals in this area. Then you have tourism. And even in tourism, compare us to Phoenix. Phoenix, who goes to Phoenix between June and September?
Right.
I mean, you can't
Too
breathe.
hot, yeah.
It's 120 degrees. Sometimes the planes can't even land and take off because it's so hot.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. From what I understand, above 124 degrees, boom, that's it.
Wow.
They can't take off. So Miami, I mean, a little bit to my surprise, South Americans, Argentines, they love it here in May, June, and July when it's super humid and hot.
Wow.
So the summer season is also hot here it's obviously not the winter season. So what is the best season? The best season basically starts in Thanksgiving. Remember, we have events. Miami's becoming a stronger and stronger event place, huge entertainment place. When you have houses in Miami, you're going to have celebrities all the time. The better the house, the more celebrities. You have a lot of events. You have, so Thanksgiving, and then you have Art Basel. So it really starts up probably mid to late November, and it goes on all the way until mid-April.
Okay. It's
But
a long time.
it's a long time. It's a long time. But what I have found is that these shoulder seasons that used to be pretty slow and more challenging, the Mays and then the September, Octobers, are getting stronger and stronger. So it's a really, really, really good market. Revenue-wise, you can't beat it.
Wow. So like the people that are renting, who are they? Are they local? Are they from out of the country? How would you say? In real estate, just to give you an example, in the past, everyone used to be from out of the country. Now it's all in the US, domestic. Is that similar in?
Yeah, I would say similar. And you're talking about our guests, the people that are renting. Yeah, right now the guests, it's really local. We're still getting few. We are getting Latin Americans. They are coming back, but we haven't seen too much of the Europeans yet. Yeah, they still haven't come back, which is great. I mean, to know that we still have that potential market that hopefully soon will begin to come back in earnest. But right now, I would say it's aligned with real estate. We're relying more on locals.
Nice. As far as like an average stay, what would be an average stay that a guest stays?
It varies by market. I'm shocked. We have a place in Wynwood, and that one, the average is only 5 days. Now, if you take Victoria Park, Fort Lauderdale, the average there is probably 2 to 3 weeks.
So these are all long stays.
Yeah, I mean, there we have, in Victoria Park, we always get people that stay for 2 months, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, right? Wynwood, never. Never.
Right,
Longest stay there is probably maximum 10 days to 2 weeks. And the average is about 5 days. But the other thing about the stays, and that's where our technology is important because we need to be on top of these trends. So COVID came around and the stays lengthened dramatically. People from New York were escaping. As soon as the schools shuttered in Manhattan and in New York in general, people were free to leave and not return.
Right.
And they came and they rented first for a week. But what we would do is the moment we knew we had a New Yorker, we locked them in. I mean,
right, long term.
Basically, well, because there was so much uncertainty that we didn't know if they left who we could get afterwards, or we didn't know if it was going to be allowed to Airbnb. So what do? They came in and then we closed the calendar because we had the suspicion that they were just going to keep on extending, and that's exactly what they did. Right. So it also shifts. I mean, COVID was exceptional. I don't think we're going to keep getting the COVID type of shifts.
Right.
But I do see subtle differences in different areas of South Florida in terms of length of stay. I was just in a meeting before you arrived with prospective owners, and they asked me if you should go for longer or shorter stays. And there was a time when I was doing this business that I thought, oh, longer stays are great. You don't have to worry. They're in the house and they just stay there. But then I also realized, well, if long is so great, then why don't you just do long-term rentals, right? So this business is short-term. And the reality is, in theory, the more you shorten the stay, the higher revenue per day you're getting. The higher revenue per day.
So when you say that, okay, so if someone is renting something for, just an example, say it's $2,000 a week, okay? What would that be for like per month or longer term? Is there like a way to figure out like a percentage, or I know it varies, but
yeah, it depends on who you ask. Airbnb will want you to discount as much as possible for that longer stay, so that they keep it full. But you know, their goals are not always aligned with yours. So our goal, here's our very simple goal, to maximize the income so that if we lengthen the stay, we don't want any slippage in daily rate. So this market is not efficient. You get some people that will pay you the same for a month as they would for 4 days. If we can get that person, we're delighted. And here's also why, because if you start chopping up that calendar and in a month you put 7 or 8 different group of guests, you're going to have these little gaps of 1 day here, 2 days there, and they become very hard to fill.
Yeah.
So your occupancy goes down. On the other hand, if I got that 1 monther to pay me the same rate, and then the calendar is full, that's sweet.
You know, it's funny, as you mentioned that, it's getting closer to that in real estate, you know, when we're doing longer term rentals and shorter term rentals, the rents have gone up astronomically, right? And your business and our business as well. When someone is renting their place, say whatever the number is, obviously they don't get all of it. What would they expect to get? So say a place is renting for $200 a night, what are the fees that would be associated with that?
You have the same fees associated with a long-term rental,
okay,
which are the basics. You have your property taxes, your mortgage, and above the short-term rental fees, you also have utilities that you need to cover, and our management fee is 25% of revenues.
Okay,
and for that we basically take care of absolutely everything that has to do with the business, dealing with everything from neighbors to registrations, etc.
Okay, so yeah, so basically all the other fees they have to pay anyways. As far as utilities, I'm gonna think about this. When someone is doing a short-term rental, the guests that are there, do they tend to like use electricity a lot more than normal?
They do. Very frequently they do. Yeah, the bills do go up. They use electric more. Now there's in certain things where we can get that back. So for example, if the pool has a pool heater, we do charge a pool heating fee. And that goes a long way toward returning some of that fee.
Nice.
And we also have technology. Their technology also plays out. We do have smart thermostats that are connected via an integration with our software, so that the thermostat knows when a guest departs, allows the temperature to drop, especially after the cleaning. And then, so there's a lot of savings that can happen with smart technology in terms of utilities.
So it seems like besides the fee, you do things that can make up a little bit for the fee.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So, so for those that are wondering like why I'm speaking with you, you were recommended from a client of mine. I didn't know much about Airbnbs. Obviously, as we've had a friendship for a while now, I've learned a lot more, learned a lot of things that people shouldn't do, that they should do. And it's always nice, you know, when you get a recommendation, but when that person actually uses the person's service, and you know what's going on after they buy another property and they do it. So it's been good to learn so much about you. As far as I know in South Florida, you guys are a very big player in South Florida. So can you tell us a bit about that? About like reviews, about like what makes you guys different?
Sure. Yeah, what makes us different is, first of all, we're really focused on people, and what I tell people is this business is not scalable. So the more homes you manage, you just can't keep the same amount of people. You have to add people, and the average in our industry is having 10 homes per person. Well, we have only 5 homes per individual. So everyone in our company really knows each individual home, and they know each individual owner. And with the guests, something else unusual, since we don't meet with our guests in person, we do make an effort to speak to them, to have at least 3 touch points. One before they arrive, to make sure they have received all the information, they know how it works, they're ready, we can answer any questions. 2, within 24 hours of arrival, we want to also reach out because we want to find out what might be, if there are any issues with the home, we want to find out early so we can resolve it. We don't want to find out at the end or when they've left. And 3rd, we want to speak to them before they leave. We want to get feedback, and we want to advocate for a good, strong review. We're very proactive about getting reviews. One differentiator is we do get fantastic reviews, and that's because of those 3 touch points. We take care of the homes really well. We're very clear on our mission, and our mission is not simply to monetize a home. A home is a precious asset for an investor. It's an important asset, and we want to protect it. We want to protect it. So that's our key goal. What does that mean? That if we get a reservation and we are in any way uncomfortable, and we have a very methodical process to assess that. We have a 6 red flag approach, and if those red flags start coming up, we're getting rid of that reservation. We're calling the OTA, the Airbnbs or the Verbos to say, this is a risky guest for this and this and this and that reason. We want it out, and we will cancel the reservation. That has worked extremely well for us because South Florida can be a challenging market, a lot of great people and some bad players. And we all sometimes turn the television channel to that spectacular, unfortunate story. And I don't want that to be any of our owners, any of our homes. So we take a lot of care. And also, even from a business perspective, we have found that it is much better for us to have to rebook a home than to have something happen to one of our homes and have to deal with insurance, deal with the owner, and maybe the home can't be rented for a while. So we do go the extra mile to filter the guests. Now, anybody can reserve, but once they've reserved, we're looking at them. We're looking at their history, their reviews, their age. Very important. The car companies do it. We should do it too.
Right.
They know. They know really well. Under 21, it's a certain risk. Over 25, etc. So what differentiates us? People. We care about the quality of our people. We care about the environment that they work in, and technology. We really do use. So I think it's a neat combination that you can have a family-based company that has the deep set of tools that the big players have, and yet can focus on the relationships and warmth the way we do. So I think we do have something that's unique, and it's a good combination for the business of hospitality.
I think people can feel that, right, when they work with you guys.
Oh yeah, yeah. It surprises me, and well, I mean, it does in the sense that you know that the labor market is so difficult, but it doesn't because you know that so many people just don't seem to focus on what it takes to retain people, and our core group of people is still with us. Our clients that have been working with us for 4 or 5 years, they're still talking to the same people.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I know you touched upon reviews earlier. So someone that's doing short-term rentals, say it's Airbnb, and their review, I've heard of something called a superhost. What is that, and what are the differences in reviews?
Yeah, so the reviews are important. It's also a game, and I just wrote an article in our newsletter, and I'll have to share it with you. That I call it review neurosis. So in it, I say to people, reviews are important, but no matter what you do, no matter how well you do, you will at some point get a bad review. And it's not catastrophic. What counts is how you respond to the bad review, and the people know it. A sophisticated buyer will read through the nonsense. They will see that it was a difficult guest, for example. So we really pay close attention to reviews. We review people very quickly so that they review us when we want them to review us. If we've had many issues, we will not prompt them to review us. Yeah, and you know, when you're a manager, it's harder to get, you know, the perfect reviews. So, but the superhost is just somebody that they have 4 criteria to being a superhost. 1 is overall experience. 2 is cancellations. 3 is...
So what are cancellations? What does that mean?
Yeah, it happens in our industry, and that's one difference with hotels, is that hosts will sometimes cancel on a guest, and it can be the day of arrival. Mm. That is, I would say, one of the big stress points for guests that book on Airbnb, that they have this, and understandably so, this fear that they've booked this vacation for months and months, and suddenly, right before arrival, they might get this cancellation notice, right? So that's one thing that, as a pro host that we are, we don't cancel. I mean, if we have a force majeure situation where, you know, something happens, there's a leak. I mean, it can happen. Mm-hmm. If you have a home, it can happen. Right. But the beauty is, we have a portfolio, and there's things we can do, and we can most often resolve situations for guests when it happens, and that's what we try to do. I say that in this business, you plan for perfect execution. You hope, you plan, but you prepare for perfect recovery, because things are going to happen, and that's my mantra. Things will happen. And I've been really surprised to see situations where a lot of things happen, and you would expect a certain review, and the review is best ever. Why? Right. Because, you know, it's really interesting. Think about it. If it's a perfect stay, you hardly ever spoke to the guest. Everything was perfect. Everything was as it should be. If things happen, you speak a lot to the guest. You get a chance to listen. You get a chance to empathize, to strategize, and to resolve the problem. And if you're there every step of the way, you bond. You build a relationship. So I tell my owners, look, if something's happened, maybe you get a 4-star rather than a 5-star review. But very often, if you followed that process, if you were there, if you empathized, you still get a 5-star review. I remember some curtains fell on a house in Naples, and the guy wrote in his review, something happened, and before I noticed and I got back, it was already fixed. It was fantastic. So he actually used that little issue to praise us and still gave us a 5-star review. So I think it's for me, that's been a lesson in this business, that really it's how you deal with the issues that can create a relationship. And
you know, it's funny when you say that. I think of like going to a restaurant, right? So you go to the best restaurant in the world, right? The food is exceptional, but the service is the worst. You probably won't go back, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Or maybe you do takeout, or you still aren't sure if you'll do takeout because the service was so bad. But imagine comparing that to going to a restaurant, and the service is exceptional, exceptional, but the food is okay. The food is okay. You're going to start making up excuses why the food was okay, and you will go back again. You know, it's just showing that you care. And
when I think about exceptional restaurants, I remember the service often more than the food. So absolutely, I agree 100%. And I tell people, look, going back to review neurosis, there are people, unfortunately, you know them in your business, we all know them. There are people that are angry. They wake up angry, they go to sleep angry. They are angry and they're unhappy. And they go on vacations and they bring their anger and their unhappiness. And no matter what you do, they'll be angry and unhappy. And anything that doesn't quite go perfectly, they will look for revenge, and they will try to extort you, and they will ask for money, and they will call Airbnb. And you just can't get into their jungle.
It's just part of the business.
It's part of the business. They may give you the 1-star review. You can try to fight it with the Airbnbs of the world. It may work, it may not, but you can't let it get to you or affect you. And I think we all go through that phase of that anxiety with reviews, but I tell people, don't take reviews so seriously. Just take it in stride, and I think if you're doing the right thing, you'll get so many great reviews, and there are so many great people that will drown out that miserable voice of unhappiness.
Right.
And you'll be able to use the review system as something to enhance and to take your business further. And for us, the reviews, they bring us guests, but they also bring us owners. I mean, it's amazing. We've gotten so many owners that'll go to Airbnb, they pretend they're looking for a property because they just bought one, where they bought their property, and then they just start reading the reviews. Oh, that manager gets really good reviews, I want to talk to them.
You know, it's funny. I think the main difference with the reviews is if you do something because you want to do it rather than for the review, the
Yes.
odds are you'll probably get a lot of good reviews.
Yeah, I agree.
So you mentioned a newsletter, and you mentioned that you write a bit.
Yeah.
If someone wanted to reach out to you, or they wanted to reach out to your company, how would they do that? What would be the best way to do that?
Yes, the best way is through our website. Send us a little note. Tell us that you saw us in this video. I always love to know how people find us. And our website is www.newmanhospitality.com. And that's the name of our company, Newman Hospitality.
And
N-E-W-M-A-N.
And you're
Yeah.
Mr. Newman.
Yes, yeah.
So thanks so much for joining us. I'm sure we'll do something like this in the future. Anything else before we go?
Thank you, Amit. I really enjoyed it. I love talking about this. I'm passionate about this business, the journey that I have taken, and I love to see the people that are where I was 5, 6, 7 years ago. I want to encourage everybody to find your niche, but find your niche the niche that you love, that really calls you and pulls you, reach out for help. There's a community of people that would love to share the ideas and best practices.
You know what I noticed throughout this whole video, and the viewers will notice if they go back on the video, you smiled throughout the whole video.
Yeah.
Not one time did
Cool.
you. So I could see how passionate and how happy this makes you. So that's awesome.
Thank you, Amit. Well, I hope we do more of them.
Awesome.